Bullshit! Ah, fuck! I got high industry. I don't even fucking know where I'm at! I'm freaking running for my life! Oh wait, wrong horror game. Let me put in the one actually for this video. My bad. So first off, I'm going to start by saying that Dying Light clip in the beginning wasn't really just for a joke. I am planning on making 2 Beast videos that I am planning to make, but are going to take time because I already beat the game and I got to re-record a bunch of stuff for a review and another surprise other video that I'm going to work on. But for now, I want to dive back into Dead by Daylight and talk about the tunneling and slugging reduction update, which I never got to talk about because it was such an unpleasant experience for me personally. And ever since the update got delayed, and it's not cancelled, it's delayed for another time, there's been some controversy talking about it, so I kind of want to give my 2 cents of experience as someone who recently, before waiting for the Beast, I was playing a crap ton of Survivor because a lot of it I'm playing with my cousins and some other friends, and we had to play Survivor. And I want to talk about my experience and about, I would say, my Survivor journey from going to lower rank to mid rank. I would say as my Survivor rank is right now, I'm in pretty much mid MMR. And my experience with tunneling and slugging, and I want to talk about some other points from some other content creators as a little bit of stuff I agree with and disagree with, but we'll get into those later. First, I want to talk about the Survivor stuff, so let's get into it. Alright, I'm going to keep this section short and sweet. I've actually had a really fun experience relearning Survivor. As much as solo queue is there from time to time, yeah, that's a little bit up and downy, but I think the best fun part about playing Survivor for me is that I was playing with people that also weren't really good at the game, which is aka some of my cousins I played DVD with and some other friends on Survivor. It's been really fun to teach them stuff about killers that they didn't know about, that how to combat certain things, while also me learning things as Survivor to do. And I think that's kind of where the game shines, is when you're always learning something new and doing things and seeing improvement in the game as Survivor. And your, improvement being rewarded with getting long chases, gens getting done, learning how to counter certain things. DVD is always a game about learning, and you may scratch the surface within like 100 hours of the game of how to do the basic necessities, but there's always the littlest of things that make up a bigger picture that make the game ultimately fun learning. So I would say on that front, I've had a lot of fun playing Survivor recently. Honestly, I would say more than Killer at times, because Killer does get stressful. Onto the tunneling and slugging part of me playing Survivor, of what I've experienced. When I was learning Survivor, I did get into the times where killers would tunnel and slug, and sometimes in comeback terms when gens would pop really fast, or in terms they would just tunnel someone straight out the game for a really dumb reason, and usually doesn't go good for them because they only get 1 kill. And instead of using it as a comeback mechanic, which is what I treat tunneling and slugging as, more of just an excessive use of it. And one thing I've always told myself about Survivor players is, if you're so worried about tunneling and slugging, why not bring the perks that combat it? And that's what I started doing, and that's my main build as Survivor. I run Boon Circle of Healing, Boon Exponential, Conviction, and Soul Guard. Boon Circle of Healing is good for the team, as well as Exponential for the players that are getting slugged and not got picked up. They can just crawl to the Boon and pick themselves up, as well as heal really fast with Circle of Healing, while I also get Conviction value and Soul Guard. And I have literally a clip to prove that too, and all that. And it's become my main build. It's one of my favorite builds because it also supplies teamwork and support, which I really like as a team player for the game as Survivor, as well as I'm also getting my own value. If I get slugged, the build works. If I don't get slugged, at least Circle of Healing helps me in the long run, and I usually just run a medkit with it as well. And I've realized more and more of using these anti-slugging perks, and sometimes I do use some anti-tunneling. Sometimes I run DS with off the record just for funny ha-has, even though that's not my main build. I just care more about slugging than tunneling, because if you're getting tunneled, usually if you get to a really good loop, you can make the chase a little longer by team through time. Because a big tip that I like to give for tunneling, if a lot of people don't know this, is that if someone on your team is getting tunneled, pump the fuck out of the gens. Don't just try to all get off the gens getting body block, because you're giving the killer free pressure by getting free hits and all that, and now you have to go heal up instead of working on gens, and you're losing time on the objective while you're trying to save one person instead of pumping all the gens out and make it so the killer only gets 1 kill. Don't make their sacrifice not a worthy thing. Make sure the sacrifice buys time and pumping out the gens, and that's how a lot of my games have gone in terms of playing with people that I have communication with. I know in solo queue is a little rough, which I'll get to that on the topic soon, but mainly with anti-slugging and tuggling, I found from my games when I do run those perks, it usually goes super well and it combats a lot of strategies I know a lot of killers do because I play killer myself. So playing both sides, it helps a lot, and I think that's the big misunderstanding is that people don't really run these perks. A lot of times when I play with random survivors, I'm always seeing exhaustion perks or windows or just in general stuff that doesn't combat the things that they might be afraid of as a safety net. And when I have the safety net for them, I always get praised. They're always like, thank you for bringing Boon Expenditure to counter slugging and all that, and I always get a lot of praise for that. And I always say, I love anti-slugging stuff, it's so good. It just deviates the killer's pressure to try to incentivize to go for that incentive play style as a comeback, which I can ultimately counter if they try to go for a 4-man slug instead of just like a 2-man, which is honestly more reasonable at times. Going for a 4-man is really dangerous, but yeah, you get the point. It's really good to use these, I'm just saying, but you know, it's not up to me to my decision to make them use anti-slugging perks. If you're worried so much about it, just use them. I have already been doing that. I'm still looking for it in my main build, and it's got me so much value. It made my games so winnable on survivors and things like detriment.
Run. Just juke him, something, anything. You ran?
I love conviction. I love conviction.
Wiggle, wiggle.
Oh, he's leaving on the ground. Nice. Just get out, just get out, just get out.
Come on, man. It's okay, we can die together. That's what I said, I fucking we're dying together.
Go, 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 go the gate, go the gate! Oh, just leave, just leave, just leave. I don't have conviction, just leave, just leave. No! I'm so close.
You should have crawled to it. Were you in there when you were your boon?
No, I wouldn't have made it in time. Oh, he's gonna let me go. Yeah! Yeah, respect! Thank you. Don't you dare kill me,
like, fuck it. He's like, fuck it. Might as well.
Yeah, I love conviction. Next, I want to talk about some opinions on the anti-slugging content. I want to look at a content creator called Bentobby on TikTok side of DVD that posts a lot of replies to people with some really dumb takes on DVD as a whole, while also giving some really good opinions about the game aspect and things with the anti-slugging and retunneling. I highly recommend you check them out if you really want some interesting info about DVD and learning both sides of it and everything. She's a really good content creator, and I highly advocate for you to check her out. I will leave links for her info in the description and full credit to her on her TikToks and her videos.
I'm sorry if this is controversial, but behavior should not have delayed the slugging/tunneling update. Survivors make up 4/5 of the player base, and playing Survivor, especially solo, is often very unfun. Many are leaving or swapping to killer. I think the game needed the shakeup. So this was Spook and Juke's response to this tweet, which says the game has hemorrhaged the player count gain from the FNAF chapter, which is true. When this was posted, the 24-hour peak for Dead by Daylight was around 56,000 players. The all-time peak, which came from the FNAF chapter, was 120. Now, to be fair, if we look at the peak players over here, which is in the last 30 days, which is 99,000 versus FNAF's 120. But still, that's like 21,000 players just lost. There's definitely more than just one reason why this has happened. Of course, there's the obvious one that behavior told us we were going to get base kit ways to counter tunneling and slugging, and then they just took it away. At least temporarily. And the casual players who were really hoping this would come are hurt the most by this. Especially for, at least me personally, the tunneling and slugging have gotten worse since they said that they were postponing it. But I made a whole other video about that, so I'll let you watch that on your own time. So casuals were promised anti-tunneling and anti-slugging, which was not only a new and novel feature, but would also help them combat the things that ruin their experience. And then the rug was just pulled out from under them. That's one reason for this hemorrhaging player count. The other is the monstrosity that was the Walking Dead release and everything that happened around it. As if the Walking Dead release itself wasn't bad enough with that joke of a map, the overall terrible perks, the amount of bugs both with the characters and as a result of the release, and then all the stuff that happened after the fact, with Chandler Riggs and the PR stream, behavior handling that terribly. All of that is definitely a contributing factor here.
With their point of the player count declining, I do agree with those points majorly, with the anti-slugging getting removed, as well as the abomination that was the Walking Dead update, with how horrible this quote-unquote new map is, which realistically more is a new part of a realm and reuse, and it's really a terrible map on both sides, in my opinion, from what I have played. And as well as just all the bugs and glitches, I myself remember just quitting the game for a good couple of days or a week until they fixed stuff. Even during the hot fixes that they pumped out, a lot of glitches were still there, and not like every glitch was listed, and they probably shadow patched, but it wasn't a good time to play, as well as the whole Chandler rig that was also disabled. It was just a really bad like month and a half for behavior, and I know a lot of the players will fluctuate with events as well. A lot of people come back for 2VA or the Halloween event that's coming a bunch right now, and beauty of the game as a whole is that there's only so much you can pump into until you get bored, because you are basically doing the same thing over and over of, you know, playing killer, playing survivor, and, you know, trying to survive and trying to kill. So I do agree with the points here with the player counts and all that, and as well as adding the factor that they also go up and down due to events, and people will eventually gain bored of the game. So I do agree heavily on that part.
And we don't know for certain that the 20,000 players that we've lost for DBD were all new players that joined because of the FNAF chapter. But the fact of the matter is that we have lost players. A lot of them. If we keep pretending that the solo queue survivor experience isn't fucking miserable, it's gonna keep happening. Killer queue times are gonna keep getting longer and longer, and y'all are gonna keep complaining without wanting to give up the thing that's making people quit. There are a lot of issues with this game. I have to hope that we at least care about it enough as a community to understand that casuals are what keep this game alive. Not me, not you, not the content creator, but the casuals, the people who log on a few hours a week to either play with their friends or play after work or something, and they just want to have a good time. That's true on Killer and Survivor. The fact of the matter is that survivors are 4/5 or 80% of the player base at any given time. At least that's how you need it to be to have reasonable killer queue times. So you have to appease them, at least a little bit. That doesn't mean that the game should be survivor-sided or the killer should be miserable. That's not the point. But the point is that you need to give survivor players a reason to stay, a reason to want to play the game. Because it's obvious they don't have one right now.
I do agree heavily with this point with the casual audience needing some appease to help combat tunneling and slugging, because as well as much as I can just say, if you don't like tunneling or slugging, just put the perks on that prevent it. And well, as much as that is true, it's kind of hard for casuals that are newer to the game or don't have that many hours to grind blood points to get the free quote-unquote anti-slugging, anti-tunneling perks that are available to the game, because yes, grinding eerie shots takes a long time. It's really unbearable to get 9,000 for a character that has perks that combat slugging and tunneling. Or you can just forfeit money out of your pocket, but let's say you don't really want to waste money on the game to get characters, And it's just a lot of the free perks, quote unquote, that you have to get from another character already instead of just in the blood web, or you make it really inferior. For instance, Bill, completely free character you unlock at the start, has Unbreakable, but you have to prestige him to get on a different character that you actually want to play as and have those perks. So it's either grind the game a lot and finally get him to prestige 1 and then start leveling up your character even more, grinding to get to tier 3, or get Bill all the way to prestige 3 and have tier 3 Unbreakable for future characters that you want to switch as, instead of keep leveling up from tier 1 with a bunch of other characters' perks. And it's just a long process. All the casuals aren't going to be doing this because it takes a lot of hours, and casuals are just going to play only for a little bit of time, and getting tunneled or slug is just going to decentivize them even more to want to play the game. So I would like more behavior added, more anti-slugging or anti-tunneling perks for free in the blood web, like the perks in the blood web already have that are already given out for free without any requirement to level up a character. I think more of that would help the casual experience. because essentially a lot of casuals aren't going to want to dive deep into Dead by Daylight and learn how to combat these options, which would help a lot. Ultimately, it's still going to take a lot of grinding of hours of playtime to get used to those combats, even if you want to just learn it that way. So I do agree heavily with this point. And it's mainly what I'm hoping the next rework they kind of do something more like that than just adding a bunch of base kit stuff, which makes Swifts and Bully Squads more powerful, because that's all they went against in the PTB, and it was really miserable to play against S killers. So I like to see something like that that's core to fix both the weaker killers and the solo queue that help balance out, so it doesn't make just Swifts and high tier killers more oppressive to do it even more. You gotta even out the building blocks in order to make this great. But as for now, I think that's an end for this video. I like to talk about more topics with DVD, but in the sense of right now, I'm going to be working on those Dying Light the Beast videos, and after that, I'll come back to DVD since I've been taking an ultimate break playing Sonic Crossroads and not Dead by Daylight, Dying Light. But I'll see y'all next time. I'll leave the links in the description to Bentobby's Twitch and her TikTok if you want to check her out. Phenomenal content creator, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.